Why does the world hate Trump? Good question. I think it's pretty obvious. America first policy. He pretty much has stuck up a middle finger at the rest of the world. In terms of, there's many established things in the rest of the world that Americans, I think, still the majority of people, or quite a big proportion of people, think that is still kind of fake science. Trump wants to kind of start up the coal industry again, and pretty much wants to remove limits on carbon production, wants to pull us out of agreements on reducing carbon emissions. The rest of the world has pretty much accepted that carbon's the biggest cause of global warming and problems like, sea waters rising and temperatures rising, many problems. It seems that, Trump kind of doesn't believe it. He thinks it's just a limit, or rather that it disadvantages the US compared to the other nations. Needless to say, the US is 5% of the world's population, but 20% of the world's polluters. So it kind of course, the US has to take a major hit when it comes to carbon emissions, because it's a huge, major producer, the biggest. The rest of the world just doesn't understand America First policy, because it thinks, well, it's the US saying, we don't care about the rest of you, go to hell. So that's probably why they don't like them so much. Now, it doesn't help that he acts like a petulant child a lot of the times, can't take a criticism, has the attention span of a goldfish. You can probably tell I'm not the biggest fan. On the other side of the coin, why do Americans love Trump so much is probably what bewilders a lot of Europeans or foreigners, and they just don't understand his racism, the things he said, keeping immigrants out, turning everything into kind of a black and white polarized politics. You guys know regarding the wall and about calling Mexicans rapists and murderers. Pretty much, it just generalizes a whole population, a whole country with a major population. Now, I would argue that, look, if it wasn't for the electoral system, Hillary would have won the last election. So it's not like Americans are head over heels with him. He promised change, i.e. Kind of like the change that Barack Obama promised, but really didn't deliver. And Barack was, I'm saying calling him Barack like he's my uncle, but President Obama was in politics before. Of course, he was a senator for Illinois before he became president. So he was still in kind of, so to speak, the Washington elite. And I guess voters thought that, hey, here's someone from the outside we don't trust politicians anymore. And I think that was his biggest kind of positive, his biggest strong suit, was that he was not from Washington. He wasn't involved in politics. He was just a businessman, and he had the personality. Let's not forget it. We're a country that voted for Ronald Reagan, kind of a B-rate actor, in the 1980s to become governor and then of California, and then president of the United States. Arnold Schwarzenegger, we voted as governor for California. So we definitely have a history of being obsessed, I would say, with celebrity, and thinking for some reason that people good on TV are going to be good in office. Sometimes that may be the case, but often it's not. I think there's a kind of a general aversion, a sensitivity to people who are, let's say, part of the intellectual elite, the intelligentsia, and Americans, I think, vote for people they would. I think there was a poll a few years ago that said a lot of Americans vote for someone dependent on how cool they think they are, or how much they'd be. How much they would feel that this person would be a cool person to sit and have a beer with. So when you have a population, a large proportion of the country that is kind of hesitant and averse to people who are well educated or people with, you know, a background in academia, if we have kind of this sensitivity to elites, we tend to pick people that we think are, you know, one of the bros, so to speak, and often that's not really great, because someone that has a history, at least experience in diplomacy, international affairs, you know, a PhD or two, or at least understands the art of rhetoric and critical thinking. There's a reason why many former presidents have been attorneys. It's not a coincidence. It's kind of the skills you need in diplomacy and politics. So I guess that's one of the major factors. These are the major factors. Of course, the Electoral College didn't help, as you know, we have an outdated system where essentially you can lose the popular vote, and you can still win the Electoral College, which essentially is, you know, because states have a certain number of Electoral College, it's not one person, one vote, so to speak, in the US. It's not proportional representation, or PR as it's called. So I really definitely think it's time to move to a PR system, in which case we wouldn't have had this president as president. I mean, but of course, how partisan the country is right now and how polarized it is, the Republicans are never going to agree to something that disadvantages them. You know, the same thing happened to Bush Jr. So George W. Bush, he lost also the popular vote. I want to say, yeah. So yeah, he lost the popular vote. So it's happened twice that Republicans have taken, in the last 20 years, they've taken the White House by losing the popular vote but winning the Electoral College. Yeah, so that's why people hate Bush. And my name is Nick Nicebridge. If you want a question answered spontaneously, please post it in the comments below. Thank you.